This right here is the Sigma 1018 aperture f2.8 for APS-C cameras. And I'm here to tell you, this is one of my favorite lenses. I've tested for myself, and the main reason for it achieving that title is because this is another wide angle lens. This is the Sigma 1424 for full frame cameras, and look at that size difference. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this 1424 full frame lens for wide angle photography, but it's pretty heavy. It's kind of big and bulky. This is the opposite. I've been looking for a good solution for my APS-C camera, and sometimes when I'm hiking or traveling, all I want to do is bring a small kit. So this small 1018 wide angle zoom lens with this also small form factor A6400 is kind of the kit I'm looking for when I'm traveling and don't want to bring a lot of camera stuff. I mean, just throwing this lens on this camera real quick, I'll show you what I mean. I've used this in my past trip that I just took, and this form factor, it's the only camera I brought. This form factor is just, it feels so good in my hands. I love it. So this camera setup is the main camera setup I took to a recent trip. I went to Alaska to visit my fiance's parents, and we went together. We explored all that magical Alaska land, and I really wanted it to be a more experience forward trip. I didn't want to really mess around with photography too much. I still wanted to take some photos, but I didn't want to take a massive camera bag. I just wanted to kind of live in the moment. Cue in the Sigma 1018 with the APS-C camera setup. I mean, this is pretty non-intrusive, and it got the job done for exactly what I wanted. Now, this review, I'm gonna be talking more about the user experience behind the lens. I don't really dive into much of the technical aspects. I'll talk about some of it, but if you're looking for more of the technical nitty-gritty of a lens, this video, it might not be for you. But if you want that genuine user experience and thoughts about the practicality of this as far as a travel or hiking lens, this might be the video you're looking for. So the first thing I want to talk about is the form factor of this lens. It's very small, it's very lightweight. Taking this camera and set up on long 10+ mile hikes, it doesn't hinder you in any way, shape, or form. Using this as a travel or group lens is great because at 10 millimeters, if you flip your screen out, take it out, and zoom in for a selfie, you're gonna capture a lot of the environment and a full group of people with a camera, and you can't really do that with too many lenses unless they're massive lenses. Speaking about that 10 millimeter focal length, I did test this a little bit as a vlogging lens, and I really like that experience as well. You can check out that full video on my channel, so subscribe to me and look for that video. I think I posted it a couple weeks ago. Now for the main point of how I think this lens shines is landscape photography. Now I will preface that with, I do like to shoot in a larger focal length than 18 millimeters for landscape photography quite often. But I think for bringing one lens to an epic landscape, like you're going to Alaska, Iceland, etc., a 10-18 is gonna be a good option for you. So I'm just gonna play back some of the photos that I took with this lens during my Alaska trip and talk about how it felt out in the field. So while using this lens, I noticed that it was able to capture a lot of the environment. Obviously at 10 millimeters, you can do that. But there were some shots that, since you're only bringing one lens, I kind of wanted a little bit more than 18 millimeters. So while yes, the 10-18 millimeter range is great for landscape photography, you might be missing some shots, but that's okay because you're taking one lens and you're focusing more on the trip instead of photography in this scenario. Since we're hiking midday most of the time, I use an ND filter for most of these shots, and the threading size for this camera is 67 millimeters, so that's a pretty common filter. It fits a couple of my lenses, so that's kind of nice as well. After going through and reviewing some of these photos that I took, my overall expression of this lens is, I can't believe how good these look. One of the things that I've been struggling with for the past few months is do I really want an APS-C camera anymore? I mean, I very rarely use it. It's my B camera when I'm doing weddings, but is it just better to upgrade to another full frame camera as my B camera? No lenses that I've tried so far on the APS-C system made me want to kind of keep this lens around until I had this combo of APS-C lens with the 10-18mm. So that's why I just want to stress how much I absolutely loved the form factor and how it felt on the hand, and the practicality and use when you're hiking or traveling with it. If you're only bringing one camera setup and you want to focus on landscape photography and capturing the environment, I think this is probably one of the better combos out there. And also this lens has a constant aperture of f2.8, which is fantastic, especially for the size and the 10-18 range. It can get some good depth field, some cool bokeh, especially when you're doing some kind of unique selfie or a portrait with, you know, that weird bubbly face look. You can play around with that. That's kind of fun to shoot with as well. Now, as far as an APS-C lens is concerned, this is a little bit more on the pricey side for an aftermarket lens, coming in around $650. But because of its versatility, its small form factor and how lightweight it is, and the picture quality that I got out of it, I think it probably is your best option if you're looking for a wide angle, one-stop shop lens. Because again, and I stress this over and over in this video, it just feels so good to travel with. I mean, there's a lot of times I was walking around and I didn't have this lens on a mount or in my backpack and I was just holding it, and it felt so lightweight and comfortable that I can just hold it and walk with it without tripping over rocks or fear of tripping over rocks and dropping it. It just, I mean, like, it's pretty sturdy. Oh, I just can't get over how good it feels in your hands. It really does. And lastly, there's one con I did want to talk about. It's definitely not a deal breaker. I personally like vignetting, but it might be a deal breaker for you. I don't know, it's for you to decide. In some of the shots, especially when using an ND filter, I did notice pretty heavy vignetting around the edges when you're shooting up to the 10mm focal length. And again, for me personally and how I like to edit, that's okay. But just keep that in mind that if you're an anti-vignette person, you might want to see if your friend has this lens, test it for yourself and see if that's an okay negative for you. But don't let me take that away from how good this lens is for what it is. And I think it's just, I'm gonna dub it like a Sony APS-C camera or an APS-C camera. And this lens is one of the best vlogging and travel / landscape photography lenses if you're only bringing one camera and one lens. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please consider hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.